We're the Meltdown, and we are a wounded animal. We have sat through a bunch of movies this year, and 2024 delivered some real stinkers. Movies that we had high hopes for that ultimately let us down very much. We're here to talk about them in this therapy session here in the Culver studio. I am Tim Melton. That is Tyler Lionel Johns. And we've sat through some slop this year for sure, but it's the ones that we had hopes for that I think has caused the most damage, which is why we're here at the end of the year trying to get it out of our system.
Yep. There are plenty of bad movies that we've both seen. There are movies we expected to be bad. We're not talking about those today. There's no point in talking about those because if the movie was made for $2 and pack of chiclets, that if that was the production budget, then we can't expect Citizen Kane, and we've seen a lot of those.
That is correct. We are typically not negative people, right? We want the movies to be good. We want the theatrical experience to be exceptional. If it was up to us, every movie would be absolute perfection.
Yeah, who wants to go pay for a ticket, buy concessions, take time out of your day to sit somewhere that's not your home and watch a movie,
Right.
and then walk out mad because you just hated it so much? Nobody wants to do that. If you do, get yourself checked. But we want to enjoy everything we watch, and we
We do.
look for the good in everything we see.
We root for things to be great. I want to start off in television.
Okay.
Okay. I'm still
Oh,
angry.
all right. Hook it up.
I'm still
I
angry
don't know where
about
we
the
go.
Acolyte. I think the Acolyte, Disney Plus's Star Wars show, is the worst thing that I maybe have seen all year. And I mean, I had hopes for this because teaser poster came out and it was the lightsaber hilt with the blood. And I was like, oh, this is promising a real, like, heavy, mature themed Star Wars show where we're going to get the Sith perspective on this and it's going to be a banger. And it turned into an all time loser. The writing in this, characters, they make decisions in this that make no sense. They're a good guy, they're a bad guy. The twins are trying to kill each other one second, next second, they're their best friends. This thing is awful. And oh, by the way, it cost $1 billion to produce. This thing is trash. I know it's not a movie, but I hate this thing and it makes me so angry whenever I think about this, and I got to get it out of my system somewhere.
And it's just a slap in the face to people who wanted more Star Wars content, who wanted to see new characters. We got the introduction of Darth Plagueis the Wise, your fan favorite character, completely just wasted. Wasted. I
Absolutely.
don't know why they even went with this
No.
other than to say, "Come on, you got to stick around for the finale of the Acolyte."
And Tyler, forget the Force. We've got the Thread now, with a bunch of
Thread.
space witches that can't stay off of each other. Screw this show. I hate this. I'm glad that they're not bringing us the second season. It sucked. And anyway, let's get into some movies. Throw a movie at me. What's a movie you hate?
I hated Megalopolis, and I really was looking forward to this one. It was one that Francis Ford Coppola quite literally sold the farm for. He sold his part of his vineyard business to make this epic story about politics and sci-fi and new technologies, and it was just the most incoherent mess of a movie I've ever seen. You've got an all-star cast in it, just legitimately, objectively, an all-star cast. Wasted. Wasted, I tell you. We got John Voight as just like a comic relief character. Spoiler alert for anyone who didn't go see Megalopolis, which is probably most of you because the movie absolutely flopped. It's Megaflopolis. John Voight kills the big bad of this movie by hiding a crossbow under the covers, and it looks like it's a part of his anatomy. We'll say, and it was just such a dumb bit. I laughed out loud, not with the movie, like, "Oh, that was so good," but, "Oh my gosh, Coppola, what are you doing? This makes no sense. This is an absolute mess of a movie," and it makes me believe Quentin Tarantino when he says, "If you're a director, you've only got a short amount of time where you can really be a good director, because after you get past a certain age, your take on movies and on culture and ability to make a movie that is relatable, it's just out the window." And this makes me think, yeah, Tarantino might be right. because I don't know who was clamoring for more after they saw this.
I skipped this movie. It looked like a really poorly shot cologne ad when I was looking at the trailer, and I did
It does
not.
feel like a cologne ad.
I didn't want to see whatever this ode to the Roman Empire it was, and I was saving up that for Gladiator 2, and so I am not interested in Megalopolis. I'll never circle back around to it. I feel like it's time well spent not watching this trash heap of
And
garbage.
it being an ode to the Roman Empire is what intrigued me the most about it, because I am someone, back to that TikTok trend. How often do you think about the Roman Empire? I always think about the Roman Empire and its parallels to American society, and so I was pretty excited for this movie. And
Yeah,
this just felt like a pretentious,
right. I,
just a waste.
I knew this one was going to be a stinker. One that I did not know was going to be a stinker. One that I championed, Tyler. This is one where I was putting out to everybody. Like, I was going to non movie fans and being like, hey, this is going to be the sneaky good hit of 2024. You're going to have to see this. Hey, let's go to the theater. Let's watch it together. It's going to be a huge financial hit. Everything's going to be great about it. It's not going to fall apart at all. And that is Trap, the M. Night Shyamalan movie where the first two acts had me absolutely hooked. I was all in.
Riveting.
On the concert stuff, I was in. Now,
Yeah.
was it very coincidental that he
Yeah.
was able to, as the butcher, Josh Hartnett, be able to get around here undetected and have all of his plans sort of follow through? Yeah, it was. But you know what? That's why we go to the movies, for that little sense of disbelief. But once you get into the third act, the conclusion of this film is completely nonsensical. Okay? He's just gone after multiple police officers to the point where he's physically harming them and they're going to cuff him.
But then let him walk up to the bike and start tinkering with it and taking off one of the spokes, hiding it up his sleeves. Now he's got a bike spoke in the back of a SWAT van.
Oh yeah, and hug his daughter. Okay,
Yeah.
once again, this is a murderer that they have
Yes.
locked down an entire concert to try to find. The
Not
feds.
just a murderer, Tim.
Yeah,
A legitimate serial killer who just had someone trapped in the basement.
right. It's a complete mess of a third act. This movie completely falls apart and loses all momentum. And I've never seen a movie, I don't think, in the history of film, lose as much steam as Trap lost the
Oh my
minute it
god.
leaves the concert venue.
Oh
So
my gosh, this was the most disappointing movie of the year for me. And that's because I never sold stock in it until halfway through the movie when they leave the concert and everything is a wacky coincidence. Because going into this, I was so hyped. During the movie, I'm thinking, "Oh, this is cooking. This is everything I wanted this movie to be." And then it's not. And your suspension of disbelief is just out the window. And it is such disappointment. I was ready to sing the praises of M. Night Shyamalan and Josh Hartnett, but I just can't because they made a really good first half. I don't know what the second half was. It was barely even a movie at that point. Just none of it made any sense, even with the expected Shyamalan twists.
it was rough. Throw me out another movie that you want to throw out onto the chopping block here of a movie that you had some expectations for that hurt you.
How about one that not just we had expectations for, but the movie placed expectations upon itself? That makes sense. Talking about Civil War.
Oh
This
my
was
gosh.
supposed to. This was supposed to. This was supposed to bring peace to American political discourse and be a warning on the actual Civil War. And it didn't even tell me how the Civil War starts. How am I supposed to prevent the Civil War, A24, if you don't tell me how it starts to begin with?
A lot of the imagery in this is haunting. And make no mistake, the Jesse Plemons scene is one of the best of the year. If you take it out of this slop of a movie and you watch it on YouTube by itself, you may watch that Jesse Plemons scene and be like, these guys are wrong. This movie cooks. No, it does not.
That one scene cooks, and that is the best 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that scene had both of us wondering, what's of that?
Yeah.
Why couldn't we get more of that?
And then you had these A24 defenders that felt very passionately that you're not allowed to criticize a movie that doesn't tell you a story by calling it story weak if they actively choose to not tell you a story and they just launch you right into the second act and you're just
The
supposed to go along with
defenders
it.
of this movie are like just defending the vibes. They're not defending the actual story, any
Well,
actual substance. They're defending the style of the movie.
they like the idea of this country is teetering on the edge and it's just there because, that's what they kind of fantasize about. This is a weird sort of movie that you're just supposed to fill in the blanks yourself. Are you allowed to ask questions about it? Absolutely not. Are you just supposed to take this Brits version of America as being exactly how it is to be here and how close we are, maybe to uh, reaching this point of the Second Civil War? Yeah, you're just supposed to completely follow their lead and not ask any questions. And if you want an even angrier discussion about it than what we're providing you right now, go check out our spoiler review, which is up here on the Meltdown channel if you want to be extra angry. All right. Can I throw out one?
Go for it, Tim. Go for it.
Okay, this one was very disappointing to me. And it is a spy thriller that had all the right pieces, should have been in there. Argylle was a movie that was overindulgent. It absolutely wasted the talent that it had on screen there. If I'm Dua Lipa, I'm very upset. Unrelenting twists and turns that just padded the runtime with crosses and double crosses and agents. It's not good. It's really actually quite cringy bad at times. And this is really sort of hit home with the creatives that feel like their movie has been judged way too harshly there. And I don't think that that's the case here with it being judged too harshly. I think it was judged appropriately. And it's yet another Henry Cavill film where it felt like he wasn't to blame, but his filmography suffered yet another drastic hit. And that was with Argylle that came out earlier this year
I mean,
with
what role
Matthew
what
Vaughn
role did
behind it.
he even play in that? Wasn't he just like the Argyle from the books?
Right.
It's in like 2 scenes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would argue he shouldn't have even taken the role, but, at least after reading the script, I mean, take a hike. This was just an absolute slog. Um, I actually really like the first half of this movie, like a lot of movies on this list. I like the first half. After they reveal that she's actually a spy, it just kinda gets ridiculous because it starts to be, like, twists on twists on twists on double cross and twists, and I really preferred it when it was just a fish out of water spy story.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I thought it was a lot better in that regard. Give me another movie. Hit me with it, Tyler. Let's get it all out there.
Oh, one I was really looking forward to as a big Sons of Anarchy fan. That's the Bikeriders. We had just come off of Dune Part 2, Austin Butler having an amazing performance as a member of the Harkonnens in Dune Part 2. And you said, "Hey, look at the Bikeriders."
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a gritty Hell's Angel type. I thought, huh, well, as a Sons of Anarchy fan, this is right up my alley, and he just killed it in Doom Part 2, so I should love this, right? Wrong. This was awful. And I think the majority of my problems with the movie are not problems with what the movie actually includes. It's what the movie is not.
Yeah.
And what it is not is a gritty crime drama. It is not a very harrowing look at the early biker gangs like a Hunter S. Thompson covering the Hells Angels or something like that. This was a love drama with bikes, and
Yeah.
that was about it.
No, Wild Hogs is a better bike movie than this,
I
and
agree with
that's
that.
saying a lot. This is the most look, this was in my top 5 most anticipated going into
Yes.
2024. This was in like high on my list of this movie's going to be exceptional. I know how to pick them obviously with Trap and the Bike Riders, but I was very excited
And another movie I'm sure we'll talk about.
my gosh. This was top 5 for me in most anticipated, and I loved Austin Butler in Elvis as well as he was really great in Dune Part 2. Dune, not really my thing, but you round out that cast with Tom Hardy and Mike Faced and, Michael Shannon, and Jodie Comer was the one who stole the movie.
Norman Reedus
Norman
was
Reedus is in
involved.
there? For a little bit. He's in there for a little bit. I thought this was gonna be like The Outsiders a little bit,
Yeah.
and it really was not. And it really led you to a point where you're like, I don't want to be at this party any longer. Like I'm in there going, I don't want to hang out with these people anymore.
It
Like,
was like Almost Famous if you made it about people that you would not wanna learn
You
anything about.
you would never wanna be around these people. It's a soulless slug of a film that leaves you surrounded by people that you don't wanna be stuck with, and honestly, some of the least likable characters imaginable,
Oh, yeah.
and it's got this very dramatic ending that you're just like, "Oh, it's over," and all the characters are just like, "Well, that's how it went," and it's like, this is awful. It's not weighty in the least bit, and the cast on screen, in my opinion, is very much wasted as this just a bunch of guys in leather running out of gas. It's very weak, and I would not recommend the Bikeriders to anybody. Alright, I gotta move on to this. Speaking of running out of gas, okay, The Strangers Chapter 1. This was also on my most anticipated list.
Oh,
I love the slasher genre. I was very excited that they were rebooting The Strangers. I was completely on board with them bringing this franchise sort of back to life after Strangers Pray at Night, which is not awful, but it definitely has one iconic scene in it in the pool scene. And I was hoping we would get some more iconic imagery from the Stranger sort of franchise. This movie sucked. This movie is awful, bad acting, bad writing, bad action, bad decisions that cannot possibly be justified from any sort of person with
that
brain cells,
title
bad
the
title.
the title gives you the idea, it's like, "Oh, we're getting into the stranger's origin, right?" Nope, 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 you do no such thing.
No,
You just repeat the first movie with different characters,
right.
and, it was so bad that the proposed Strangers Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 that were already supposed to be out by now, I think, are indefinitely put on hold. I don't know when they're coming out, and I don't really care to see them when they do, even though I'm sure I'll still be lined up for the slop like the little piggy for horror I am.
Oink, oink, oink. This
Oink,
thing
oink, oink.
is awful. I'm a big fan of ketchup. I like the condiment ketchup. This ruined ketchup for me. This movie is anger inducing. It's my lowest rated movie of the year. I gave it a half of a star out of 4. It is not only the worst film of the year, in my opinion, it is also my most disappointing for the horror genre. Because this thing I was all in on, let's get the strangers back on the screen. And they decided to go with just what is a remake of a movie that didn't need to be remade. That's a much lesser version, that's less artistic. The characters are less likable. It's like if you'd watched a Renaissance fair version of The Strangers, where it's
Yeah,
like, we're going to recreate a scene that took place in our history, and we're going to get on stage with puppets and marionettes, and we're going to reenact The Strangers from the old hollow days of 2008 or whenever that movie came out. I think it was
it
'08.
was '08.
That The Stranger Chapter 1 makes no sense. It was bought out by a fan who I guess had this like lifelong thing of like, oh, I get to,
I've
I get,
seen fan films made for YouTube
yeah.
that are better than this.
Oh
The
gosh,
the
this
the
is awful.
Mortal Kombat, Legacy, I believe, actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Absolute masterpiece compared to this garbage.
It's really, really bad. Tyler, throw another movie out there that deserves to be in the slop pile.
Oh, how about one, we both saw? You might not have had high expectations for it, but I was a big fan of the IP. That's The Crow with Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs.
Well, I was defending this thing up until the day of its release. I was going like, it's probably not going to be as bad as everyone thinks it's going to be. It got pushed multiple times, and
It was worse than everybody thought it would be.
I would love to be able to wash this thing out of my brain the way that those fake tattoos wash in the rain or something, but it's so poorly executed and it's so dumb. There are guys with swords. Sorry, there are guys with guns that are taking on a guy with a sword, and their goal is to hide behind cover and wait for the guy with the sword to get close to them so that way they can then start to shoot at him. Makes no sense tactically. This movie's awful. The worst female on screen performance that I've seen all year
FKA
long.
Twigs. I don't know why this movie was made. The creators of the movie, I don't think have ever actually read or watched the original Crow because they completely missed the hook of the story in this one. The original hook of the Crow was always uh Eric and Shelley's relationship and how that is just a shining light in a city that is otherwise completely dark, grotesque, crime ridden, debaucherous. This is the one pure thing in that city, and that's why it was something worth fighting the way Eric fought for Shelley. It is worth going the lengths that he did. And in this movie, it's just a kind of pointless fling between two junkies that don't want to get clean, but they also go to like the cushiest rehab the world has ever seen, where it looks like a mix between summer camp and prison. I'm still not sure what that actually was supposed to be because the cops brought them there, but you could walk around and watch movies and do like arts and crafts time. But this was just the
And
weakest thing I've ever seen. The escape also took like 2 minutes. Um,
yeah, I know how to get out of there. Let's just go to the place we do laundry. I know how to get out. I've known how to get out this whole
let's
time.
just leave.
Yeah, and it's co-ed too, which you would think would cause more problems than it would. I just,
And they're all wearing pink jumpsuits.
it's
It,
bad.
it is atrociously bad. I oh my gosh, this is by far the worst writing I've seen this year. Just because there was already a story for you. You didn't even really have to do any work. They actually put in the work and made this atrociously bad, incoherent, and just complete letdown. There's no emotional hook to this story. You don't care about Eric and Shelley's relationship in this because they met each other 2 minutes ago in a prison rehab Camp Hargis, whatever this is, where you can just walk around and do as you please.
It's bad.
I don't get it. I don't get
Tyler,
it.
Crow fans have already. You're a Crow fan.
I am.
Crow fans have already been hurt over the years. This is just another attack on Crow fandom, and it is maybe the one of the more vicious attacks on
Speaking
Crow
of
fandom.
Crow, this movie is called The Crow, and I didn't know. I thought I had walked into the wrong movie because for the first 5 minutes, you just see a horse. It literally opens with a horse, and I thought, wait a minute, am I watching the right movie?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not good.
It's not called The Horse.
It is not. Okay, I've got to get to what is my most disappointing movie of 2024. This is the movie I've been most hyped about. It was top number one for me by a landslide of movies I was anticipating the most, and that is Joker Folie Adieu. We never properly reviewed this film. I think it would have probably hurt too much. We had our
Yeah,
out of the theater reaction there that you
it's
had,
more
but
like Joker Folie do.
that is correct. We previewed this one a lot, though. This was something where I found myself checking my watch the entire time. Was it a sabotage attempt from a disgruntled Todd Phillips? Is that what this is?
I personally think it was because he spent so much money and was also kicking David Zaslav off set, saying, "No, no, no, this is a closed set here at Joker 2. You, head of Warner Brothers Studio, are not allowed on my set." And I feel like, you know, during the lead up to that movie, I was thinking maybe like, oh, is this supposed to be like more subversive than the first? Is this going to get more controversy than the first one? We've really got a banger here. And then it just turns out Todd Phillips just didn't probably want Zaslav knowing how much money was being wasted on nothing. On nothing. None of the musical numbers in this movie added anything to it. And I say that as somebody who just wanted to like this movie, even though I hate musicals. I was cautious on this movie, so that's why Trap was a little bit more disappointing for me. But I love Joker 2019, and this was just a giant slap in the face to anybody who liked that movie or really anybody who likes movies in general. I think Quentin Tarantino has the best take on this movie, and he says Todd Phillips just treated himself as the Joker, and that's why he likes the movie. He burned $200 million right in front of Warner Brothers just for the sake of burning $200 million. And I gotta agree with him. I don't think that makes it a good movie, but to each their own. But in my opinion, I've never seen such disrespect shown to such an iconic character. I felt like the South Park episode where they're watching the new Indiana Jones movie, and I'm just sitting back in my chair going, "No, please stop. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Please stop it." And they,
Yeah.
they didn't stop. It continued for 2.5 hours.
No, that's a very fair dissertation there, Tyler. And my favorite movie of all time is a musical. My second favorite movie of all time is a Batman movie. So you would think if there's anybody that's going to love a Batman musical, a Gotham City set musical, it's going to be Tim Melton. I cannot defend this. The music is awful. You have Joaquin Phoenix doing the singing and Lady Gaga doing the acting. Like,
That's how it's supposed to go, right?
like, no, flip that. We want to hear Lady Gaga doing the real singing, and we want to see Joaquin doing the acting. Like
I
that's
want
the
I want to see Todd Phillips doing some more writing.
and direct.
Fix the story. This wasn't it, Chief.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's bad. And Todd Phillips, I know, had a lot of struggle with getting the first Joker made, and this was his revenge tour. It looks like, and he ended up going full Murray Franklin on Warner Brothers with this absolute atrocity that is Joker 2. The story sucked. I mean, they could have taken this thing a number of different ways, and they chose the worst path of let's just create an apology letter for ever having created Joker in the first place. I love the original 2019 Joker. It went on to make $1 billion, which is why you got Joker 2. This wasn't even a movie that was going to exist. There was
No,
no sequel that was going to happen.
no, but when you make $1 billion off of $100 million, they're gonna make a sequel, and that was fine until you just decide to throw out everything that made the first Joker likable.
It was number
Oof.
one on my most anticipated list. Therefore, it is number one on my most disappointing list of 2024 Joker 2. Tyler, do you have any other ones you want to throw out there as movies that have hurt you throughout the year?
This is one I think hurt both of us. I'm not sure if it hurt you as much as it hurt me. Both horror fans. One movie that was really, really marketed as something that would be right up our alley was In a Violent Nature. Supposed to be like a Friday the 13th, but from Jason's perspective. That sounds awesome. Not in this movie. Not in this movie. We just get this stupid GTA 5 online view of the character's neck. The entire movie. The entire movie is him walking in the woods, arms out, just a waddling. You get a couple of interesting kills, but it's not really anything to write home about. Terrifier went above and beyond the level of kills that were in this movie, but I was hopeful for it. I was hopeful. And this really hurt me. I was so hopeful for this movie that I had invited my dad to see it because he's a big Friday the 13th fan. I said, "Dad, they're supposed to be making a Friday the 13th movie from Jason's perspective. You would like this." He goes, "All right, I'll join you." And we sat there in silence and watched the movie. And afterwards he goes, "It's been alive 50 years. That might be the worst movie I've ever seen."
Cringy dialogue.
Oh, yes, we didn't even get to the cringy dialogue. They speed ran the entire dictionary of Gen Z lingo. They skipped out on skibbity Ohio Riz no cap bussin' for real, but they hit every other one, and it was the cringiest thing I've ever seen in a movie to date. I don't know who greenlit this. I don't know who was a part of test screenings. I don't know who wrote this, but none of them should have jobs ever again.
There is a certain tenseness in the film when you originally are getting into it, trying to figure out what sort of pattern it will follow. But it does fall apart when it cuts to dialogue around the campfire that is just painfully written and performed.
And I
And
assume it's supposed to be like a parody of the original slashers. It's like, "Oh, look how the hip young teens talk." But
no,
my
by the
gosh.
way, these are 40-year-old
Yeah,
teenagers
yeah, yeah,
in this.
they're 40. They're 40. They're
Yeah,
they're AARP members.
I do give them credit for there's that one yoga kill that I think is really well done. Once again, if you take it out of context, it's like, wow, okay, this is really good for the horror genre, but that's
I'd
about
rather see it in the Friday the 13th video game than in this pitiful excuse of a
that's true.
slasher.
I don't want to sound like I'm defending it too much, but it did barely miss my list of most disappointing, but it definitely was something that I wanted to come out championing it, and I couldn't because I wasn't a big fan. All right, Tyler, bring us home. Anything else?
Uh, man, this wasn't a particularly disappointing movie, but is one that is just so truly awful, I have to mention it.
Not another church movie.
It's not another church movie, although that is awful. That is, like, legitimately awful, as far as production values go. I have done better green screen masking for Meltdown videos and TNR videos than they bothered to do for this theatrically released movie. That is just phoning it in if I've ever seen one. So, they're not even making the list because they don't deserve to even be mentioned ever again. I'm talking about Sting, the movie about a giant pet spider. This was so dumb. They try to include a lot of drama and a B plot about the girl reconnecting with her stepfather because the stepfather also helps her with comic books, which is why she likes spiders. And you're just wondering why. When did this become a thing that we have to take a generic slasher movie or monster movie and say, you know what this mean? You know what this needs? We need to solve some deep-seated trauma by the end of this, or people just won't hit the seats. We've gotta use this pet spider from space to rekindle the relationship between daughter and stepfather. It's so dumb. Why? 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 We can have a little bit of drama, a little bit of some personal issues we need to solve by the end of the movie, but we're looking at people going from like, basically complete strangers or what is just a professional, artist-author relationship, because for some reason in this movie, the girl is a comic book author and, just, like, relentlessly barks at her stepfather to draw the art for it. I don't know why, but we've gotta go from there to loving, happy, kumbaya because of a pet spider from space. It's so dumb. I How is this a movie? Who greenlit this? Oh my god.
Tyler, I hope this has been cathartic for you because
I'm
it
not
has
sure if it is. I'm worked up now.
really been entertaining for all of us. Hey, if you want some entertainment in your life, mybookie.ag, that's the place to go. Our title sponsor, where you can be a winner there. Lots of opportunities to cash out or let it ride there at mybookie.ag. We bet big on these movies that we just profiled and we lost. We were
I
hurt.
lost everything.
We
I
lost
lost
we
everything.
lost everything on our stock in these movies, but you can be a winner there at mybookie.ag. Make sure you use promo code next round for that first time deposit bonus. Bet and play absolutely anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Will 2025 be as painful as 2024? Let's hope not. But stay tuned here to the Meltdown as we have gotten at least a little bit of therapy with being able to talk about how we've been hurt this year cinematically. I'm still recovering from something like Joker Folie, and I'm hoping that I can wash it away from my memory entirely in the years to come. We appreciate you being a proud and loyal Meltdonian. Make sure you hit that subscription button and hit that bell so you never miss any of our angry rants about future film here on the channel.